we were just throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall. Nothing was sticking.
I remember when we like 150K a month, and I just like look around like, man, how do we make money? Like everyone's like been doing the job for like 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, I was just like, I just need leads and then I need to close them. This is now July. We had probably done 50 grand total since January to this time period. And I felt like the potential was there. I could feel like the leads were close. It just wasn't happening yet.
There's just these like rookie mistakes that always happen. It's like after people have been there for like a year, your life gets so much simpler.
Yeah.
All right. So Tyler, welcome to the show. Today, you guys just hit y'all's first $100,000 month in the month of February. So we were kind of just going to break down that journey of like what you guys did from zero all the way up to 100K for your first month and kind of go through each stage. So Tyler, welcome to the show, man.
Awesome.
Good to have you.
Chandler, I really appreciate it. Happy to be here. Honored to be here, and looking forward to talking with you.
Dude, it's gonna be fun. So, okay, so you shared with me a couple interesting things. You told me you left all the worms in the box. So, like, you said you have a really interesting story of like how you started, like how you got here. So, like, break that down for us. Like, what's so interesting about your journey?
Well, there are different pieces to it, right? Super fast forwarding it. At least me specifically, I got into the whole entrepreneurship thing back in college, starting with the garage sale, Gary Vee stuff, got into e-commerce and actually had ridiculous success back then. And then, of course, as easily as it came, it absolutely blew up, nuclear. Ended up transitioning.
What do you mean when you say it blew up nuclear? Like,
it was nuclear.
Give us some context.
No, it was absolutely nuclear.
This sounds like some I don't know. It sounds like something interesting.
Yeah. No,
What'd you do?
So it got to the point. So I was, I'll put you back at 21-year-old me. I'm 28 now, but I was 21. I was a junior in college. I was. I had one day where I made $67,000 in a single day with drop.
Shit.
Yeah, it was crazy. So like, it felt like everything I touched was like magic. Like everything
You're
worked.
a genius.
Yeah, I literally thought I was a genius. I was super cocky.
What were you selling?
A bunch of different stuff. I did a couple different things, but I was drop shipping at this specific moment in time. And anyways, crushing it. Right, felt like I was on top of the world.
You're about to become a guru.
I was.
For sure.
I tried. I was
almost made your first instant.
Yeah, exactly.
Dude, let me teach you.
Yeah, 100%. And then, one of the biggest products that I had, I sold too many of them essentially, and my manufacturer couldn't ship them all out, and I ended up getting a ton of refunds. My PayPal got banned. Everything just literally imploded. And then next thing I know, I went from making a ton of money to like, oh my God, I no money. And then I was losing like $2,000-$3,000 a day, and there was nothing I could do about it because I was getting refunds. And, I went from, I was driving around in a C63 AMG at FSU with a Rolex, a Breitling. And I was just like, holy shit, life.
You were the tits.
It was, yeah. Anyway, so, that's kind of, I had some experience at least seeing like, oh snap, like you can do things yourself. Like this stuff works.
Yeah.
Like it's real. And then after that,
dude, that's kind of absurd. So like, how did you ever did it just like keep refunding until the dirt and basically like went a little bit into the red and had to like just sell your shit?
I went pretty far into the red. Yeah. So again, I was at this point thinking, I was spending way too much money, of course. I thought literally like it was money just grew on trees.
College, bro.
Yeah. And
I'm the best.
Yeah, exactly. And then so, try a couple other businesses out. Obviously, I have these giant credit lines from that business. Next thing I know, you're in, a really bad spot. And so that kind of, that set me back a little bit for a while. But I kept trying different stuff, ended up transitioning out of this social media marketing, essentially business, into wholesale because I had seen, gurus on YouTube, wholesale. It was intimidating to me. I was like, all right, I can do this. Let's figure this out. And I actually did it for like a year and a half. Had no idea what I was doing, literally no idea what I
Yeah.
was doing. But I did 9 deals probably for like 40K, which was not enough to like, what I was looking for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
I was checking out like $5,000 mobile homes, driving there in my, nice car and my, like suit essentially. It was ridiculous. It was like super embarrassing looking back.
I can
Yeah.
see that.
Um, Ended up, still in a bad place recovering, didn't make enough from wholesale. I, didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
Went back.
You're like 22, 23 at the time?
Yeah, 22, 20. At this time, I just got out of college. So I was 23. I was still in Tallahassee. I went to FSU. Um, Ended up,
That was like when they were winning, right? That's when they like kind of like won the Natty,
um,
correct?
I went to my first year at FSU was 2014. We won it in 2013.
Okay.
So like I was there the year after. We were
Okay.
still good,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah. Jameis Winston was
silly.
kind of the man around town.
100%. Yeah, 100%. But I ended up going back to school I was like, all right, I want to be in real estate. I went back to school to get my master's in commercial real estate, essentially. Realized I hate it because I was working for somebody on spreadsheets, and then found PropertyForce. I know you're familiar with them. And so I was like, all right, like I'm somewhat familiar with wholesale. Let me get a sales role and see what I can do. And then, I was at PropertyForce for maybe 2.5 years, learned so much. I mean, that's the only reason that I'm in the situation, or that me and my business partners are in the situation that we're in now, is because of the experience that we had, working at PropertyForce. And then fast forward a little bit, we started our own thing, and here we are.
Yeah. Yeah. PropertyForce is like extremely dialed in. Like for context, give everyone like kind of like a context of like this company, like how, because like in the Southeast, like they operate in Georgia. If you're in Collective Genius, you probably like know the owners. Like give context around like how legit this company was.
Yeah. So while I was there, we were doing $30 million a year, probably 1,000 wholesale deals a year. I mean, it was just it was insane, and it was all wholesale. It was all wholesale. They had at the peak maybe like 80, 90, closing in on 100 employees. Again, all wholesale. And agents would be doing 400K in sales a month. Like it was crazy. It was a crazy time to be alive. And so
what was one of the things that they did at that company that was like compared to like when you were wholesaling like on your own?
Yeah.
When you go there, like what was like what made those guys so much more successful than like, let's just say like when you were doing it on your own?
Well, I think a big part of it is team, and I think with everything, the people that you have around you. And so, there are people there who have been doing it for 10 years, right? And so they know things that you just don't know until you have experience. So when I was doing it myself, I didn't know how to, I knew how to comp, but not really, You think you know how to do sales, you don't. And then when you get into a company, like that, you get to hear the vets on the phone doing their thing. You get to talk to the people higher up, and everybody just has, it's just group mindset. Everybody's helping each other out. And so, it was just the experience of everybody there that made it, so good.
Yeah. That's sick.
Yeah.
Okay. So like you guys, you worked there for, it was like, how many years did you work there? And then you transition off to your own thing?
Probably 2.5 for me.
Okay.
And then,
so you got like a good like education there.
Yeah.
Figured out like everything.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like a master's, and me and my business partners, Aaron and John, we, talk about it all the time. It's like we got a PhD in wholesale from there,
Sure.
And so, but yeah, go ahead.
That's sick. Okay, so like you guys transition off on your own. Like, talk to me about like that journey of like going from, making money in the past in your own businesses, e-com, wholesale. Obviously, like they didn't go exactly how you wanted them to. Crazy stories. I bet you learned like a freaking ton from like the e-com thing. Like,
Yeah.
that's absurd. I've heard horror stories like
Yeah.
that, like which is like that's just the it's just part of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, which sucks.
100%.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but so like then like you start over again. Like, what was your strategy? Like, how did things go? And like, just talk us through
Yeah.
through the 0 to 1.
Yeah, exactly. So the first step, and again, now I'm coming off of, I started out by myself. I had a business partner. It was a different business partner. He was actually at PropertyForce too, but that's, I'm going to keep that a little bit secret.
Yeah,
But I started out in January of 2023 is when I left PropertyForce to do my own thing. And I was coming off of being super, super cocky because I was very good on the phones there. I was the number 2 agent over my time span there.
heck yeah.
So I was like, all right, all I need is leads, and then I'm going to make, millions of dollars. It's going to be super easy. It was not. So yeah,
Classic.
yeah. It was
Never's ever worked that way.
Yeah, never ever. So, get started. I tested out. It was just me. My buddy was focused on other stuff, but we had a business together before for flipping, and so we had some money saved up in the side of that business, and we started doing pay per lead, pay per click, paying way too much for cold callers, just trying out everything, not really focusing on one thing. And, next thing I knew, we had no deals. We had burned a ton of money. And I was like, oh my God, it's coming again. I'm like having flashbacks to back when I was just leaving college. I'm like, no way that I just went from making all this money at PropertyForce to like, I'm not going to fit and it was going that direction for sure.
For sure.
And so that was probably
So basically, you're kind of like all over the place. Like, let's spend $5,000 here, $5,000 here, and just like kind of like see if anything sticks against the wall, kind of thing.
Yeah, 100%. We were just throwing a bunch of stuff on the wall, and nothing was sticking. Literally nothing. And I was, it got to the point where, I had no process, honestly. Like I was just like, I just need leads, and then I need to close them. But at the time, I was doing everything, and I thought the only way through it was to just, okay, I have to work harder. And without thinking, all right, I need systems, processes, that sort of stuff. And it, got to the point where, I'm in the office from 6 a.m. to, 8 p.m., 2 Celsiuses, 10 coffees, just literally grinding myself into the dirt, and it wasn't working. And so along came Aaron and John, my business partners now. Let's, fast forward a little bit. This is now July. We had probably done, I don't know, 40, 50 grand total since January to this time period. And I felt like there was, I felt like it was there, like the potential was there. I could feel like the leads were close. It just wasn't happening yet. I still believed in everything. It was like the only option that I had was to believe in it. Aaron and John came along. I partnered up with them. They kind of threw me a lifeline. We used the things that I had learned from there. And then, things started, once you had a team around you, at least those 2 guys, that was a huge, huge milestone in at least my journey.
Do you feel like it was like the ability to delegate other tasks, or was it like something else?
I think that's a big thing. I think that was huge. And it's also doing it yourself is so lonely. Like it's so lonely when you're just doing it yourself. You're showing up at the office, you're by yourself. It's 12, it's not working. You have nobody, you're not talking to anybody. You're not brainstorming. And I burned myself out, but I would still keep going. And so I'm like a dead person on the phones, essentially, just trying to grind my way through it. And so when these guys, came in, you have somebody to do dispo, another guy in the phones, and just the team brain power. And that was the first big step in the right direction.
Yeah. So talk to me about like you guys, like what lead channels did you find out like that worked? Like you started throwing stuff everywhere. I know you'd mentioned like you kind of got lucky and found like some really good cold callers. Like what was kind of like the way, the model you guys built and like started getting traction with?
Yeah. So me, John, and Aaron, we started July 10th. Was our first day, working together. I remember we came in. Texting was the best thing for me leading up to this, and so I was like, guys, this is what
Okay.
we have to do. We have to do the texting, and so that's what we started with, and we were using launch control. So we'd come into the office. They would have contests. We'd be, who can click, to send the leads the fastest.
Fastest.
Yeah, and we were just doing that. Calling up, the leads that, people who would say yes. And so that's what we started with, was the texting, and it was working, like, relatively speaking, like it was profitable. Even if it was just a little bit profitable, it was profitable.
It's better than negative.
Exactly. Yeah. It was much better than negative, much better. Yeah. And yeah, so our main lead channel, at least starting out, was texting. And then, it was texting to start, and of course that blew up. But we had some really good hires along the way, and I'm happy to talk about that and how that kind of transitioned to where we are now.
For sure. I think we'll go into all that too.
Yeah.
But just like kind of going full circle, I find it so interesting. Like, because I talk to a lot of people who had like a similar stories, like each hit, and it's like boom, it like all clicks. Like it's like, oh, you feel like an overnight success, but in reality, it's like you put in 7 years of work of eating shit to kind of like get this reward.
Yeah.
And I think that's so cool, because most people don't really realize, like, man, I just like want to win so bad. But like, I'm sure you like, you have this like cool, like you guys hit 100K. It's like, okay, cool. It feels good. It's probably like a little bit of like a relief to like finally like see that pinnacle. But at the same time, you're like, dude, like we gotta, it's like the journey is just beginning, It's like, it's an interesting thing, but keep going.
No, yeah, 100%. I mean, I feel like we still are absolute babies, as far as what we're doing now. And it feels like we're just scratching the surface, and really, really finally starting to build momentum. And it feels like we have the beginnings of a real business, not just some weird, jobs that
like
we can,
you guys do. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like just, fuck.
Dude, yeah. Like imagine like, okay, when someone asks you what you do, like what do you say?
Oh, well, I'm not going to say what I usually say, because I like to mess with people, but it's actually like, whenever anybody asks me, it gives me a brain fart, because I'm like, how in detail do I want to go? I tell them I'm in real estate.
Yeah.
I tell them it's like kind of like HGTV, and then I kind of leave it at that.
Okay.
I fluff it up a little bit.
Oh, sick! You're a realtor.
No,
Nice.
yeah. I tell them, we flip houses, whatever. But
that's like the number one thing is like, oh, I do real estate.
Yeah.
Oh, sick! So you're a realtor.
Yeah, it's like not quite.
Not really.
Not really.
That's funny.
Yeah.
All right, so continue. So you guys like SMS is like what's working. You guys like obviously started to gain traction. What was like the next key hire you guys made?
So absolutely crucial part of our business was this next hire. I love him. He is the man. He was actually when I had first started, and I was throwing a bunch of stuff at the wall, I was by myself. I hired a big cold call center, and my client success manager was this guy, and his name's Ali. He's over in Egypt, and we just hit it off. We had 15-minute calls, but they would turn into an hour and a half. Anyway, fast forward,
Nice.
He had left that company, and I checked my email. This is maybe early August. So me, John, and Aaron had been together for, about a month. And I'm like, oh, this guy left. Like, we have to talk to him. We brought him on as just to start doing the texting for us, essentially. But where he became super, super valuable, and still is super valuable to us right now, is he's been kind of the backbone to our cold call operation. And so, now we're at a point where we have, 16 callers. He manages, and they're part-time, but he's been, the driving force for all of that. He gets absolute studs on the phone for us. and
Mhm.
he's basically runs our marketing for us. I mean, so that was a huge hire for us, and gave us the ability to do a lot of cool things that we had no idea how to do,
Yeah,
and for cheaper
that's
prices.
dude, isn't that such a cool feeling when you hire someone? You're like, they're actually better than me at this.
Yeah, I it's the best. Like, it's literally the best.
Look at that smile. You can't even like hide
No,
that. That's
I
like pure
yeah,
enthusiasm right
I
there.
love this guy,
That's
and
sick.
John and Aaron, we literally just gush about this guy, all the time. We're like, he's the man, and he's like,
Yeah.
he's, uh, but yeah, he's huge part of our business, and that kind of got us into. We started slowly with the cold calls. That was running in the background. We were still mostly focused on the texting. Um,
Hmm.
and then the texting, of course, blew up, of course. At least for
Yep.
us, they, did the,
Yeah. Florida is not super chill with texting.
yeah. And so there is, some hiccups with the texting. We're like, all right, Ali, let's double down on these cold calls. Let's see what we can do.
Hmm.
We hired two closers actually at this point. One was a good friend of mine, stud on the phone, and then the other was this trial person that was a terrible hire, but we
Hmm.
were too scared to fire him, honestly. So that's another part of the journey. And this was probably around October, um, and yeah, and so then that was, I guess, the next part of the journey.
Yeah. Okay. So the cold caller. So Ali comes in, builds cold calling up. He knows exactly what to do. He's like was an account manager for or CSM for a cold call company, I assume. Hires your whole team. Like that's pretty sick.
Yeah,
That makes life really easy.
makes
And
yeah.
then yeah, that's awesome. Like kudos to you. So wait, I want to talk. There's a good lesson in that though. Like you found some like because this is how you want to like you can like poach people. Not that it's like completely recommended,
Yeah,
but if you want to hire good talent, it's like you build a relationship with that guy for what I don't know 6 months, a year maybe, or not six. I guess it's like 6 months or three to 6 months, and then like he liked you enough to where he was like, dude, I would like not working here. I'd love to like come work with Tyler. That'd be sick.
yeah.
And like then he messaged you like that. To me, like that's a huge lesson.
I agree big time because, and this dates back to the PropertyForce thing. The only reason that I'm where I am today, or where our business is where it is now, and will go where we want it to, is because of the relationships that we've built along the way. So me,
Mm-hmm.
my business partners Aaron and John, we've are together because we always treated people right back then. We knew each other's character just from working with each other. And then,
Mm-hmm.
as time goes on, whether it's with Ali and, the other guys that we've brought on, it's treating people right, being a good person, that carries a lot of weight, and, makes building a team much easier, when you're building the correct relationship. So I think that's always,
For sure.
um,
Especially when you're like starting out, like when you're like at that point where you have like one acquisition, like you have like so many single points of failure, like one acquisitions guy, Ali, it's like if those guys leave, like the whole business kind of like fractures.
Yeah.
So it's like when people ask like, oh, like what was like one of the most important things you did whenever you like scaled out acquisitions, and it's like we hired like one of our best friends to be our acquisitions manager. He wasn't even good at sales, no experience, but we knew he wasn't going to leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, because like if he leaves and like we're kind of hosed,
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And I think that like you did the same thing with the guy from one of your buddies who you brought in as acquisitions. I'm not saying that's like the best thing to do for everyone because you may not know someone, but it's huge.
Yeah, 100%. And I would say that's probably one of the situations that we find ourselves in today, is that, in terms of next steps, and, I'm sure we'll get to it, but, okay, if person X, if Ali were to leave, or, some of our amazing lead managers that are diamonds in the rough, and then, if our act guy were to leave, it's like, okay, we have to have, contingency plans here, because that could immediately change things overnight. And so,
Yeah.
that's on the to-do list. You know,
Yeah. I mean, it is like a real concern, right? That's why like I'm a big believer too, and like make sure your team's paid well and more here than like where they can go elsewhere and get.
yeah,
Um, and and if you give them a good environment, like for example, you said at PropertyForce earlier before the show, is you're like, dude, the culture was just like unbelievable. It's like a big family there. So it's like if you can create that same type of environment, whether it's a smaller team or a bigger team or whatever, then like people are going to be extremely loyal, and like it's going to be hard for them to leave.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's the most important thing. And it's like, yeah, you could pinch pennies here or there, if you wanted to go that route. But I think that you get so much more value on the other side of it. If you pay people well, maybe more than they, more than the going rate says that they should, and then treat them well. They want some time off. Listen, do your thing, keep them happy. And I think that when they're, if your team is happy, they're going to perform better than, than
For sure.
exactly. So,
100%. Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more about that.
Yeah, dude. I mean, like even like think about your situation when you're like by yourself, like kind of like getting burnt out. You're like, this like kind of sucks. Like I'm kind of like a zombie on the phones. Like, dude, like that's like what your team will do if they're like left alone.
Yeah.
They don't make enough money. They're stressed. Like that's what you don't want your team, your closer on the phone, like being sad.
Yeah. You can't have that. You cannot have that as for sure.
No, that's for sure.
100%.
You had remove like all sad music from his Spotify.
Exactly. No more, sad girl country music for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, I know you guys are probably just like rocking Taylor Swift in the office. I get it.
I might in my own headphones, but they don't like it. They don't like it. But yeah.
What do you guys like? Okay, so what's it like having an office? Because I've never had like an office. I've obviously worked in the same place as people, but how's an office environment?
It's huge. So I mean, it's inside of the office. It's mostly just me and my business partners. Every once in a while, our closer comes in because he's local too, but he likes working from home, and we have absolutely no problem with that. He's doing his thing. But for us, that's another huge piece, at least for us, for our success, because being able to come in, just spitball ideas off of each other. You're with each other for 8 hours a day, whatever it is. Ideas come from that, and also it's fun. I mean, these guys are my friends, and so it went from a situation where I'm all alone in a just
Yeah.
screw you, yeah, screw you, and to now, you come in, if you have a bad call, you turn to the guy next to you, get to laugh about it, with each other. And I mean, I absolutely love it. Like I'm so happy. These guys are so happy. So it's fun. It's like hanging out with your friends and building a business, so that's kind of what the office environment is like. And it's worth the investment for us, even if it's just like a, for fun investment. But
I mean, dude, that's what life's all about, man. It's like doing things for fun. I don't know. I spend like that's what I spend probably the majority of my money on is like fun things.
Yeah. I mean, that's the ideal situation. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I just want to do things that are fun with cool people.
You don't want to do things that suck.
I think there's like. I mean, I do occasionally actually. For some reason, I like to go and run like 50-mile runs.
I heard about this. I think that's so cool. By the way, that's awesome. And I heard about like some other, crazy ultra stuff that you were doing. Super cool, man.
It's dude. I don't know. I mean, okay, well, so anytime I go and do something hard, and I think this is for anyone, it's like it sucks in the moment, but the people you do it with, you just get such a tight bond with them, and it's like it's all just like this like miserable thing. Like you're maybe out in the rain in the woods, like hiking and sleeping and eating like dry food.
Yeah.
And, like it's not great. But then like as soon as you get back, you're like, dude, like that was so cool.
Yeah.
Like I remember this story or whatever. And it's like, oh, you just like crave that. I don't know. For me, I just crave that a bit.
I think it's super cool. And to a much lesser degree, I also like to put myself through, weird stuff like that,
Okay. Like what's the most weird thing you've done recently?
I did like a 4-day fast just because I was like, screw it, let's just do this. That was like very recent. That was like maybe
Dude,
2 weeks
that's
ago.
hard,
Yeah.
bro. That's gonna be really hard. I've never done anything
Yeah,
like
I
that.
felt like on day 3, I feel like I entered the shadow realm. I was just like, what is, like, I was like, but
That's funny.
yeah, but I would do like, like,
Were you like, when you say you went into the shadow realm, were you just like not really like present on Earth, or
yeah, I
like were
was
you
somewhere
like
else. I don't know where I was. I was somewhere else.
you
Yeah, I
transcended?
transcended. I was just, it felt, I was like, I was joking with the guy. I feel like, I feel like a hungry lion. I don't know what the heck. I was just like, I was like, it felt like I was cracked out. I don't know what was going on, but it was weird. It was really weird.
Dude, that's
But
dude, that is weird. So like, what'd you learn from, or wait, what'd you take away from that experience?
nothing, honestly. Just that I could, I was just like, all right, this is interesting. I guess I can go, a couple days without eating.
Yeah,
But yeah, I didn't really.
went forward, dude.
Yeah,
That's kind of a long
yeah, it
time.
was.
That's like over half a week.
Yeah, yeah, it was. Yeah, and then food tastes much
Did when?
better after a fast too. I learned that food tastes really good
Yeah,
afterwards. So that's.
I used to cut a lot of weight. I never, like for wrestling,
Oh,
I
okay.
never did fast. I never like technically fasted. I mean, I guess I technically did. I didn't eat for like a day at a time
Okay.
sometimes, but it'd more so be like out of like the fact that I'd have to make the certain weight class.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, the meal, I'd always get a meal on like Saturday night after our meets.
Okay.
And oh, dude, I would just be a fatty and get like mac and
Love
cheese
that.
and like everything. Dude, it was like the best food ever.
Yeah.
Like I could eat McDonald's
Yeah.
and it'd be like incredible.
Yeah, I love that, man. I love that.
But yeah, you're right. That's what I realized too from like eating. Like I do like PB&Js are like my main source of fuel.
That's, you got to get your fuel from somewhere.
It was,
I'm
dude,
not a big
I took
PB&J
about
guy,
8.
but I respect
Not
it.
me neither anymore. Me neither anymore, bro. I ate way too many of those things. Okay, so where were we at? You hired this acquisition guy. You got Ali on the team.
Yeah.
This was like around the end of last year, right?
Yeah. So this is now, we're leading up into, so this is October, November. We had these guys. December, both of them left. One of them was because we knew he was going to leave anyway. That was one of my buddies. It was kind of like a, hired mercenary for 3 months is what, we had to deal with him for. And, at this point, we're also just really focusing on flips too. Like that's kind of what was keeping a lot of the lights on, honestly, was, we had flips that we were doing.
Big closings.
Yeah, big closings and exactly. And so, we were getting by with that. And then wholesale was inconsistent. I mean, it was, 20K 1 month, maybe 30K. December, we actually did like 50 or 60, maybe, mostly just because of one big deal. And then, but back in December, I mean, now it was just me and John back on the phones and kind of back to the old days. We're like, all right, like now it's just us, Ali, and our callers again. What's the next step here? Like we've seen potential. And then we made the decision at the end of December. We're like, all right, we're going to try to make 2024 great. We invested into the, your program. And then after going through it, I mean, January, we spent the first 3 weeks of that month not really on the phones whatsoever. We're like, all right, we're changing this business model around. We're going to hire people. We're going to do this thing. And the 22nd, I believe, January 22nd, we had the process pretty much in place. And then, from there, it's been so much better. I think we did from the 22nd, to the end of January, we did maybe 20K wholesale. We picked up 2 flips. We could have wholesaled those. We didn't. Then February, we did 8 deals for 115. And so, it's like, what the heck is happening, and then
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then this month we're off to a decent start. I mean, we have 3 under contract right now. One of them I think is going to be a really good one. And we have, a couple other things that sold. We're at, I think, like 14 so far, but we have really good stuff in the pipeline.
Nice.
And so,
so you guys okay, so this is let's take a step back here. Yeah. I think this is cool. So you basically joined, I can't remember if it was December or January, but I remember it was right around the new year.
Yeah.
And then you guys basically said, all right, let's just implement this like a system into our business
Yeah.
and then like just make that work. So like, why did you guys do that versus like try to just like keep slinging deals and like try to do everything at once? Like, what was y'all's thought process there?
We realized, I mean, throughout our entire journey from July to that point, we had seen different, issues, but, some success too. But we realized, okay, we really haven't, it's still just, we're just chickens with our heads cut off running around doing a bunch of random stuff. And like the only reason that it was working to any degree was because of our experience in the past. We could just figure stuff out on the fly. So we were super lucky with that, but we're like, this is not a business right now. We need to build a business. And our processes were a joke. They're better now, but we still have a lot of work to do.
For sure. As like every business will ever feel that way.
Yeah.
But keep going.
And so I forget, I think it was I don't know, something free that you had. And I started looking at it, I was like, gee, this is a crazy amount of value. And two, I was like, all right, like we have so much work to do. Like, check out this guy. And so they checked you out and then we're like, all right, let's do this thing. Let's build a real business. Like, let's get these processes like in place. Let's dial it in. And, that's the only way that we can one day find ourselves outside of the business and, actually build something that's scalable and more consistent. And so that was kind of the mindset heading into it.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's like such a cool. I think it's like the slow down to speed up type of idea, right? Like let's take a step back to take 2 steps forward. So it's like you guys are like, if January sucks, it is what it is. If February sucks, it is what it is. But March, April, May is after March, or is it?
Suck with my months.
Whatever. Yeah. Dude, it's like someone's like, what's after T? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I gotta go from the beginning in the alphabet.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I like that. I think that's like such a good approach. So you guys did that, and then like, what were some of the action steps you guys implemented in your business to like during January?
Yeah. So the biggest changes overall, and it might seem simple, like in retrospect, but we changed the way that our cold callers handled the leads. Beforehand, they were asking a lot of questions, marking them cold, warm, hot, etc., and then it would go directly to me or John. The cold callers now just were doing hand raises, essentially. Hey, are you interested in selling? Yes. Great. They're getting pushed along. We're eliminating long conversations with our cold callers, essentially. But we don't want them talking with with the sellers more than they need to. And then they
can screw it up pretty easily.
Yeah. And so, we want more talented people on the phone with the sellers, essentially. We hired 3 lead managers over like that span, essentially. All studs in their own right. Really, really talented people. And that was a huge, huge step because that took away a lot of the, like as an acquisition guy before that, you'd be making a ton of phone calls, dealing with a lot of unqualified, realistically, sellers, spending a lot of time, grinding your wheels. It felt like for me and for, the other closer that we had before, where
for sure, because like cold calls, like somewhere between 30 and 50 leads for a deal. So it's like you got to call a lot of people.
Yeah, and and then people aren't answering. So you log in, you got 80 calls to make, and every single call that you're on, you don't know if this is going to be the slam dunk deal. So you got to be at your best. And so putting in the lead manager, where essentially they're just like deeply qualifying people, made it one so that they have a specific focus. This is my job. I'm making calls, I'm qualifying people. And then when there is somebody qualified, they push it to the closer, let the closer do what they do best and hop on the phone with truly qualified people and close them. And so putting that sales process in place is huge. And now we have 3 separate roles that we can scale out over time. Cold call,
nice.
Lead manager and closer.
Acquisitions.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Dude, that's crazy. Like, I was actually, as we were talking about this, you're working with Braden, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I'm glad Braden gave you guys this advice because I've seen it go both ways. Because that's what we do is like we do very underqualified leads from the cold callers, and then because it's super scalable,
Yeah.
and then have lead managers call them and then go acquisitions.
Yeah.
But I know like other people like have success with the model of like having like really high qualified cold callers that
Yeah.
are more like lead managers. And I think like they both can work, but
I agree.
if you already are like using like cheaper cold callers or people like overseas like for cold calling, like I think it makes the most sense. Like I've seen the highest success rate from just like going like cold callers basically don't do any kind of, they just like, are you interested in selling? Yep. You own the property. Cool. All right, let's send it over.
Yeah.
And like kind of like go from there. So like that's good. I think that's like rock solid. Now you guys have like a really simple like manufacturing line that's built out.
Yeah, exactly. Because I do think that and that's what we were doing for the longest time beforehand, was having the callers qualify people, and it worked. It's just, this feels much more, we can get away with less talented cold callers and focus on building the right talent in the other pieces.
Mm-hmm. Then you can kind of like, if you have like really qualified cold callers, we brought a lot of them up to lead managers over time,
Yeah.
or eventually maybe you get US based lead managers, or,
Yeah.
you know, you have then to build a pipeline for acquisitions and et cetera.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, that's basically
so okay. So what's like kind of like the next thing you guys are working on now that you have the lead managers and the cold call system set up? What's kind of like the next like big block for you guys?
Yeah. So the biggest like immediate change to the business that's going to result in more revenue for us essentially is going to be on the disposition side, because right now we're doing only wholesale, flips and wholesale.
Yep.
So everything that we're doing is just wholesale. Obviously the novation piece to it, the ability to wholetail, in the future, so for us, that's the most immediate thing that we're trying to implement. So this month we're really working on the novation side of it, and dialing that process in, because that's new to all of us. Whereas wholesale is kind of, we have so much experience with that because of the PropertyForce side of it that we know it like, in our sleep. But novation is like, it's new to us, and I'm sure it's going to seem super simple in, a month or two. But right now it's like, all right, like, like still trying to understand exactly. So that's a big piece. And then of course the other side to it is just the consistency aspect, like building up, making sure the foundation is really strong, because there are going to be ups and downs. Not every month is going to be, 8 for 115, and so to be able to build the correct foundation and have our KPIs in place and like know them rock solid, I think is huge too. So the disposition side, and then the consistency aspect, and those are
I definitely think like the consistency thing. I remember when we like kind of got to like 150K a month. I think it was like 2021, and I just like look around like, man, we suck.
Yeah.
How do we make money? Like, because like everyone's like been doing the job for like 3 to 6 months, and it's like, there's just these like rookie mistakes that always happen. It's like, it just comes with the territory, but it's like after people have been there for like a year, your life gets so much simpler, because people like really start to like understand like what's going on. I don't think people give enough credit to like a tenured employee, right? Like you said it, PropertyForce, like I don't think we shed enough light on that, but the fact that people are there for 10 years doing the same type of job, bro, you're an expert in 10 years. Like none of us have wholesaled for 10 years. We haven't even done business for 10 years. And like these guys have like done acquisitions for 10 years or, like that's insane. It's like, think about how good they
it's huge. And I think the biggest thing too is that, it's the experience. I mean, you get to, from the first 30 seconds of a phone call, at least for me, and I've only been doing it for, 2.5 years when I was on acquisition, I can smell, I can smell the deal.
The way they talk, the speed, like
exactly. Like you just start picking up on little things. Yeah. And okay, on this type of person, you got to approach the offer this way and vice versa. Whereas, the guy who's brand new, just reading a script won't know the things, that the guy who's been there doing it for a while knows.
And that'll be like an important thing for you guys too. Like as you scale out of like acquisitions or and scaling out lead management and stuff
Yeah.
too. It's like just like reviewing those calls and like as a sales manager, like going back and like rescuing deals. Like you'll do that for a while.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure you smile because you probably just did it.
I've been, yeah, we've been doing it a bit, but it's just part of the, it's part of the process, but
part of the grind.
yeah, 100%.
And yeah, that's sick. And then but that's like part of the fun part of the
Yeah.
journey. I looking back on that, it's fun.
Yeah.
And then the deal size thing, like I do agree, like because that was like for last month, it was like maybe more like 14,000 for a deal, which is like that's like not bad, but if you guys can get that to 20 or 25, like
That'd be nice.
the numbers start to look really
Yeah.
nice, right?
Yeah, exactly. And so that's
Like
you know,
I was gonna say with the Wholetails, one of the things that we did when we started doing Wholetails was because our deal size was like probably like 15 to 20, give or take, like around this time period.
with Wholetails or with,
But we started before we
okay.
started doing Wholetails, and then like we like take down like one, and they'd be like quarterly, like one a quarter kind of thing. Like we didn't do it intentionally, but this is kind of just like how it kind of flowed.
Okay.
And it was like, and we didn't try to sell in the winter, obviously, because it's slower.
Yeah.
We tried to sell in the spring or the summer, before July ended, basically.
Yeah.
And, dude, just like taking down a couple, it's like, man, like you close like a 60, 70K rip from instead of it being a 20K wholesale. It just feels so good. So like like you guys already flipped. So like if you have like a really good deal that like could probably pencil and be, a fat wholesale, it's like probably it's like worth it.
Yeah, I mean we're super, like we're super high on doing that, and so for us, I mean the thing is we do have some pretty good lenders, at least for traditional flip stuff. They do have like minimum like interest stuff, so like on some things it eats into it a little bit for us, so we have to work on finding different lending options, I think, too. I don't know if you have any advice about how you handle your wholesale stuff.
So what we did was, one, like over time, like you network with more high net worth individuals.
Sure.
So it's like that's like, if we're going to talk about a simple way to like raise, like because we use private money,
Sure.
That's the simplest thing to do is like meet people who have lots of money
Yeah.
and show them what you're doing, and then like eventually they'll be like, oh, how can I get involved in like, helping you out or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
That's like one way. But the way that we started doing it, like we got our first lender, is we had a really good flipper friend who had a private lender, and we just told him like, hey, like we sold him some deals, probably like 5 or 6 deals, and then we partnered with them on a flip, and we said, hey, dude, if we partner with you on this flip, it was like
good deal,
right around $100,000, so like, we just basically gifted it to him. Not that we were going to be able to make that on our own, and said, hey, dude, like, will you like, if we do this, will you share this? We'll go 50-50. We bring the money and then share us your private money lender contact. And then he did. And then like, that's like our main lender.
Yeah. Love that, man. It's
like such a simple thing, but like we paid a lot of money up front for it, but like it was way worth it.
Yeah. It's, and again, it goes back to the whole relationship thing, and so, it's those relationships that you've built and kind of investing into the relationship one way or the other, pays back, 10x plus, I'm sure for your business over time.
Oh, dude, like without that strategy, like, we make a lot
13,
less.
14.
Like we hold it. We like, it's like what, $40,000 for like millions.
Yeah.
Like wholesales are sick in the right market and in the right product. Like, dude, like I like, for example, townhomes.
Yeah.
Townhomes are like really good for like MLS exits. Like they're not, most of them are too new for a flipper to come in, or the HOA is too high for a landlord.
Yeah.
You can't rent it or whatever. But like, we've done some deals like a 2013 townhomes, like new, nice houses, and like they're just great wholesales.
Yeah.
Like they're already retail ready, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
And it just opens up. But be careful. Try to make 20% on every deal.
Yeah.
Don't, like, I had this conversation the other day. It's like they're like, oh, I could like, if I wholesale, I could like make a smaller deal, like pencil. It's like, I wouldn't recommend that, because like if the market turns and like, I mean, you guys flips, you already understand that stuff, but like just for everyone else like listening, like don't be dumb.
Yeah. Don't you're going to learn a lesson at some point, when you're doing it, and so we've already we've learned a few lessons, and so we're not.
What was one of the things you learned from flipping? Especially like you were flipping in 2022, right?
Yeah, I was flipping. Yeah, so all of us, me and my business, we were just doing it separately. We started flipping in 2022. My first one ever it was one of those scenarios again where it was because the market just started like improving like crazy. And it was one of those scenarios where I'm like, oh my God, this is so easy. Like I'm going to make so much money. And because we bought it, we did $5,000 worth of work.
Back to 20,
yeah,
21-year-old.
exactly. I was like, oh, we did it. We did it. We made it. I thought we were going to make like 30 on this thing. We ended up making 95. We only put $5,000 into it. And it was just because it had this 60-day postdoc. And so we were sitting on it. And the market just started going nuts. And we just listed it.
Oh, dude, that's such a good feeling.
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, from there, I did some properties. The first big lesson I learned was I did a house in Pensacola, which is a smaller market in North Florida. And this was like a little piece of crap house. And I tried to cheap out on the rehab, really cheaped out on it. And everybody who
just take your Swiffer in there to clean it up.
Yeah, I just had a handyman do everything. And it like the photos I have a buddy who takes really good photos of the property, edits them real well. So we got like 75 showing, something crazy. And every single person who walked the house goes like, what the hell did you do to this? This is the worst house ever. And so, we made maybe like 15 on it, but if we did it right, we would have made 60, 70 grand. We had to price drop like crazy. And then
that sucks.
Yeah.
It would have cost like 20 grand more. But
and it would have
to do it right.
Yeah. And it would have made
way more.
We'd made way more. And then of course the flip right after that, I paid way too much for a rehab. And of course the contractor sucked. And that was a different sort of issue. But
that's a tough issue. Yeah. So when you underdid the rehab, what was the main complaint that you saw?
The main complaint had to do with the flooring. So the flooring was kind of they just
uneven.
Yeah, uneven, soft. And then in the kitchen, just a small thing that I realized, just to show the kind of work that was done. We just painted the cabinets, kept the countertops, whatever, installed a new faucet, and I zoomed in on the photos to right above the faucet, and my guy had cut out inside of the cabinets. He cut out a little triangle that he just cut out and painted over for the sink to actually fit. And I was just like, oh my God, the rest of the house was like that as well. Just showed it to him. So,
he just Tetrising this house together.
Yeah, exactly. And so
that's that's good.
Yeah.
Good. He's a handyman.
Exactly. He's great for the handyman stuff. I still use him for that, but I don't. He's not a good contractor.
The punch list and
exactly,
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's actually kind of funny.
It was
you probably thought you were a genius. Dude, I'm gonna steal. I'm gonna make so much.
Yeah, I again felt oh yeah, I figured this out. I was ordering this stuff from Home Depot myself instead of the contractor doing it, and I was like, oh, I'm just gonna save so much money, and yeah, it didn't work out that way. But
that's hilarious. Dude, that's such a cool story though.
Yeah.
Dude, you have a sick story, bro. I hope everyone enjoyed this.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate that, man. I really do.
Yeah, dude.
And
you guys are gonna crush it.
That's the plan, right? And obviously there will be ups, there will be downs, and we're prepared for that. Mm-hmm. Me and my buddies, and I want to thank you, bro. I mean, because with the you're providing just so much value just for free out there, and the thing, the program that we're now a part of, we would still be chickens, with our heads cut off, just, doing nothing pretty much. And now we have a vision as to what we can do. And that 100% would not have happened without, the groundwork that you provided. They say, if you've seen further, it's on the shoulders of giants. And so, I'm lucky to be talking to a giant. So Thank you.
Dude, I'm only 5'8", but I appreciate that. But I do appreciate that. Also, shout out to Braden, because Braden's a beast.
Yeah.
I'm sure he's helping you guys tremendously.
Yeah.
Like, I couldn't do it without my team either.
Yeah.
So huge kudos to those guys for caring so much about our clients, and
Absolutely.
then also you guys actually putting the work in and like doing the things that are required to have success. So that's sick. Like, I know no one told you like, hey, don't do anything for the month of January. You guys did that. I think that's a great intuitive move to just make sure you implement it perfectly and then like actually start doing it. Like,
yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you, man. Thank you. And, this was fun.
For sure, dude. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
All right, man.